The very name Zulu evokes an image that has captivated the world for nearly 2 centuries, a shield wall of oxhide, a forest of gleaming spears, and the thunder of thousands of feet stamping in perfect unison. They have been portrayed as a nation of warriors, a people seemingly born for battle, whose military prowess humbled the mighty British Empire and carved a kingdom out of the heart of southern Africa. But like the ninja of Japan, the reality of the Zulu warrior is far more complex, more sophisticated, and more human than the legend suggests. To understand the Zulu warrior, one must first understand the man who forged the nation, Shaka Kasenzangahona. Contrary to the popular image of a superhuman military genius or a snarling, demonic killer, Shaka was a flesh-and-blood leader navigating the brutal political realities of his time. Rising to power around 1816, he inherited a small, insignificant tribe. Through a combination of military innovation, shrewd diplomacy, and sheer force of will, he transformed it into a dominant power. He did not invent warfare, but he revolutionized it. The story of the warrior nation truly begins with him. Before Shaka's reforms, warfare among the Guni peoples was a relatively ritualized affair. Battles were often little more than skirmishes, with warriors throwing long, lightweight spears from a distance. Shaka changed everything. He is credited with introducing the Iklawa, a short, heavy-bladed stabbing spear. Named for the sucking sound it made when withdrawn from a foe, this weapon was designed not for throwing, but for brutal, close-quarters combat. He also replaced the small throwing spears with large, full-length cowhide shields, isilangu. When a Zulu regiment advanced behind these shields, they formed an impenetrable wall of hide and muscle, protecting the warrior as he closed in for the kill with his Iklawa. But the weapon was only part of the transformation. Shaka's true genius lay in organization and discipline. He organized the Zulu fighting force into a sophisticated system of age-based regiments known as amabutho, singular ibutho. Young men of the same age group would be called up to serve the king, forming a regiment that would live, train, and fight together for the rest of their lives. They were housed in military kraals, ikanda, creating a standing army that owed its allegiance directly to the king, bypassing local clan loyalties and forging a single, unified national identity. This regimental system was the backbone of the Zulu state, a powerful force for social cohesion as well as military might. A Zulu warrior's life was one of discipline and ritual. Before a battle, regiments would perform powerful ceremonies and dances to strengthen their spirit and connect with the ancestors. Warriors would consult with diviners and inyanga, herbalists, to receive protective medicines, intellizi, which were ritually purified by vomiting and washing, ensuring they were spiritually cleansed and ready for the violence to come. They adorned themselves with elaborate plumes, furs, and cow-tail decorations, transforming into a terrifying and magnificent spectacle designed to intimidate their enemies and proclaim their own valor. The tactics they employed on the battlefield were just as sophisticated as their organization. The classic Zulu battle formation, known as the Impondo Zankomo, or Horns of the Beast, was a masterpiece of mobile warfare. The main body of veterans, the chest, Isifuba, would advance to pin the enemy in place. Meanwhile, younger, faster regiments would race out to form the encircling horns, Izimpondo, swinging around the enemy's flanks to attack from the rear. Once the enemy was surrounded, a reserve force, the Loins, Untel Inhendlendler, waited to deliver the final decisive blow. This wasn't just a wild rush. It was a coordinated, strategically brilliant maneuver that required immense discipline to execute. The power of this military machine was first tested on a grand scale in the Ndwandwe-Zulu War of 18170-1819. Shaka's Zulus faced the vastly more numerous Ndwandwe people under King Zwidai. Outnumbered perhaps 6-1, Shaka used a combination of guerrilla tactics and the superior mobility of his regiments to wear the enemy down. The decisive clash came at the Battle of Malatuze River in 1819. The Zulu army caught the Ndwandwe forces divided as they crossed the river, shattering them in a brutal attack. In a daring follow-up, Zulu warriors, singing Ndwandwe victory songs to fool the sentries, raced ahead to the enemy king's camp and destroyed the Ndwandwe power completely. This victory sent shockwaves across the region, triggering the Mfecane or Defakane, a period of tremendous upheaval and migration as other peoples fled the rise of the Zulu war machine, inadvertently spreading Zulu-style warfare and state-building across Eastern and Central Africa. For decades, the Zulu kingdom remained a powerful and independent state, but by the late 19th century, their land and sovereignty stood in the way of British colonial expansion. In 1879, the British Empire invaded Zululand, sparking the Anglo-Zulu War. It was a clash of civilizations, the disciplined volleys of the modern Martini-Henry rifle against the raw courage of the Iklowa. On January 22nd, 1879, the world witnessed the impossible. At the Battle of Isandlwana, a well-equipped British force of over 1,700 men was wiped out by a massive Zulu army. The Zulu, horns of the beast, had encircled and overwhelmed a modern European army, a victory that sent shockwaves through the British public and stunned the world. It was a testament to the bravery, discipline, and fighting spirit of the Zulu warriors who charged into the teeth of devastating rifle fire, armed only with spears and shields. As King Cetshwayo lamented after the battle, an assegai has been thrust into the belly of the nation. A victory that would ultimately seal their fate as it guaranteed a brutal British reprisal. That very same night, the legend of the Zulu was sealed in the Western imagination at the Battle of Rorke's Drift. A mere 140 British and colonial soldiers, many of them sick or wounded, defended a tiny mission station against waves of attacks from over 3,000 Zulu warriors. The desperate, bloody hand-to-hand fighting lasted for 12 hours. The British held, and 11 Victoria Crosses were awarded, the most ever for a single action. The 1964 film Zulu immortalized this battle, creating a powerful and enduring image of the Zulu as both a fearsome enemy and a noble, honorable one, who salute their brave adversaries before finally withdrawing. But even this cinematic tribute, for all its power, presents the story through a European lens. The lion's history of the hunt is well documented. But what of the lions? For over a century, the Zulu experience of these wars was marginalized or twisted to fit colonial narratives. The complex political motivations of the Zulu kings were reduced to savagery, and their homeland was portrayed as an empty land needing civilization. The victory at Isandlwana was often described not as a brilliant military triumph, but as a massacre or an atrocity. In truth, the Zulu warriors who fell that day were not savages. They were men defending their families, their king, and their way of life against an unprovoked invasion by a foreign power with superior technology. Their military system was not primitive chaos, but a sophisticated state-sponsored organization that rivaled anything in the world at the time. Theirs was a society where martial values were central, but where warriors were also sons, husbands, and subjects of a king they revered. The legacy of the Zulu warrior did not end in 1879. Even after the kingdom was broken and annexed, the regimental system, the Amabutho, continued to exist, evolving and adapting. Chiefs continued to form them for labor recruitment, cultural resistance, and to nurture a sense of Zulu identity in a rapidly changing South Africa. In the 20th century, the image of the Zulu warrior was powerfully revived as a political symbol, particularly by leaders like Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who invoked the martial past to mobilize support and assert Zulu nationalism in the new South Africa. The rhetoric of the warrior nation remains a potent force today, a reminder that for the Zulu people, their history is not a distant relic, but a living, breathing part of their identity. The Zulu warrior, from Shaka's revolutionary regiments to the heroes of Isandlwana, was not born for war in some mystical sense. He was forged by it, shaped by a brilliant leader, organized into a formidable military machine, and motivated by a deep loyalty to his king and community. He was a farmer, a herdsman, and a son who could, at his king's call, pick up his shield and his iklo and become one of the most feared and respected soldiers in history. And in that complexity, in that blend of the everyday and the extraordinary, lies his true, enduring power.